security for people in government, like Mheshimiwa Mgatana. I know they are well protected, but there's no security. Security. Okay? You know, we may be deaf, but we are not blind. We saw some women meeting somewhere under the leadership of the second lady of the Republic of Kenya, Dorcas Rigathi. We saw what happened. We saw it. We have seen what has happened. Even the Akorino people have said that their phones are taken away and so on and so forth. The question that I would want to build on what my senior has said, Mheshimiwa Pogisho, is a question of why do we heavily fund NIS DCI. They're heavily funded. They even have some money that, you don't have to account for such operations, to collect intelligence. I'm assuming that we heavily fund them so that they have capacity to collect intelligence, to foresee what is likely to happen in future, to foretell what is likely to happen in future, okay, through an intelligence system, and to prepare a response for whatever is likely to happen. That is why we heavily fund, not just Kenya, even the US, they heavily fund the FBI and CIA, heavily funded. It is for that purpose. It is not just to have a good unit called National Intelligence Services. They are supposed to do a job to secure this nation, okay? From mainly internal threats, but even external threats, okay? So when that is not happening, and those institutions are appointed by the government, they are there, they're operating, and whatever they do, the government must be able, and they have capacity to know, because they get briefings on a daily basis from NIS. So when certain things happen, we who are not part of government, we are left with one conclusion, that either the government knew through an intelligence system, or if they didn't know, then those who have been given responsibility to manage those particular units have totally failed. And if they have failed, they should have been fired. But let me say this, the consequences of allowing these groups to operate unchecked are dire.
Is it fair for the government? Is it fair for the government?
They are dire, Fred. Because what will happen? You create fear and despondency. Okay? When you do that, what happens? What is likely to happen? Immediately what happens is that investors who are either already operating from your country, from your region, from your jurisdiction, or who intend to come and invest will, of course, shy away, because the first consideration for those people, for those of us who have worked in private sector, other than macroeconomics issues, one thing we look at is the stability, security of that destination that we tend to do. Right. You can imagine what will happen to a tourist when they see, when they read some of these incidences that are happening. Okay? So it is not something that we want really to take lightly. It is something that will affect this country, and we are told that it is on the growth trajectory. But if these things are allowed to happen, I can assure you we'll take a nosedive.
The return of Mungiki, that's a big headline on the front page of the People Daily. And because of time, kindly allow me to move on to the next discussion. And this has to do with the politics of the day. We've come from a very busy political weekend. One of the biggest political events of this past weekend was a visit by the former deputy president to Martha Karua, the leader of Na Kenya Party. We do have that story packaged by one of our reporters. Let's watch that story briefly, then come back and discuss the main headlines, which is coalition shopping on the front page of the Daily Nation. Mitego mbele ya Ruto, habari kuu kwa ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo, and even on the Star they talk about the sugar politics and how that will play out come 2027.